Hello, I wanted to do this podcast to explain how different people operate. And the two differences are that some people, when you talk to them and when you interact with them, will come from the head, and some people, when you talk and react, will come from the heart. And it's very important to understand the difference because, one, to know whether you're a head or a heart person, mostly you'll do one more than the other, and who you're talking to, whether they're head person or heart person, because that will change your actual relationship. If you're a heart person, and I get the feeling if you're listening to these podcasts, you're probably a heart person, that you talk from your heart. Your head, of course, is working there as well, but mostly when you talk to people, you're actually talking to them through your heart. You will be an empath, you will be compassionate, you'll understand, you'll be quite a good listener, and you'll probably try to ease their pain and give comfort. And whenever you speak, you're speaking with that love, you're speaking through your heart. If you are a heart person, you will actually find it really easy to speak to heart people. The conversation will flow very easily, the backwards and forwards is easy, there's very little conflict, very little problem. It's not problematic. The relationship is not problematic, and if there are problems, you sort of like either sidestep them a little bit, to find ways to negotiate or work it out or compromise. And heart to heart people will understand the things that we aren't saying. So when they say, "How are you?" and you say, "You're fine," they know you're not fine, and they will actually either delve a little bit more deeply, or they'll make you just feel a little bit better by what they say. So this is a really strong and good connection for people to have. The head people, and as you can tell, I'm probably more of a heart person than a head person, but I can be a head person too. The head person just speaks from the head. There's usually not much emotion in it too. They're very pragmatic and practical, and so you give them an emotional problem and they'll give you a head solution. So it's quite different. The head person has its place, and talking from the head has its place. Sometimes it's important that we find solutions and ways to solve problems in a practical way. However, without the emotion, when you have the two colliding, it doesn't always work that well. So if I'm a heart person, I'm talking about my relationships and how I'm worried about things, and they're a head person, they're coming back with platitudes and practical solutions that aren't really having much emotion in it. It's just a head construct, a mind construct. I'm not going to feel very satisfied in that relationship. And they could feel somewhat frustrated with me because, you just do this and you just do that and you just do that. And it's all very matter of fact, whereas I'm sitting there just crying. The head to head people work well too. When they talk head to head and they keep the emotions out of it. You'll find this happens in business a lot and in partnerships sometimes. When people are negotiating, they often do head to head. They don't usually do heart to heart. However, in counselling and any therapy, you'll find it'll be more heart to heart, so that the person you're working with can connect into you and vice versa, and then using also pragmatic, practical mind things. The reason I've mostly done this podcast is to recognise, one, who you are and who you're talking to. So I've always taught heart way, mostly. I still come up with practical ideas for solving things, but I can do the heart thing most comfortably. And I find that if I speak to a head person like that, it doesn't work as well. So you might want to alter that. If you're a head person talking to a heart person, maybe you need to come more from the heart and the connection's better. Or maybe if you're a heart person and you're talking to a head person, maybe it's better to talk to them to the head. Because when you talk to their head, they will get it. And it flows backwards and forwards very well. And if you know how to switch, it makes it easier. Some people can switch easily, and some people can do both of them, even in the same space of time. However, a lot of people will stay in the one zone, and that's what I want you to recognise. There are people in my life who are always the head, always talking like that. And if I try and come in from a heart point of view, it doesn't go in. It's like hitting a wall. So I've learned that I just go ahead with them. And then if I want to say something little, I don't expect any response. It's just something that I might need to say. It's also a better way to communicate, because if you're on channel heart and they're on channel head, you're going to miscommunicate, and you're going to misunderstand each other, and you're going to not get the outcomes that you want. Whereas if you can go to their space and be the head person as well, that's going to help as well. Have a look around. You can get a little list if you want to, and write down who you think are the head people foremost. It'll be mostly head, and the people who are mostly heart, and then there'll be some people who vacillate in between, and they use either or. I think that knowing who we're dealing with really makes better communication. I noticed that when I try to talk to people who are head from a heart point of view, it really didn't go anywhere. And sometimes they actually act like I hadn't spoken. I'd say something and then they'd just keep going like I hadn't said it. It was almost like it didn't actually go through, and that's because they were only doing head talk. If you are a head person and you've got a heart person in front of you, talk emotionally to them, all right? Talk from the feely emotional place. Don't give them all the practical solutions. That's why a lot of relationships don't work, because people are upset and talking to their partners, and the partner's giving them all this practical advice, and they don't want that. They want you to meet them in the heart place, not the mind place. They don't want that right now. They want you to meet them in the heart place. And I think I've struggled with that. I think in my partnership, I was married to a head person, I'm a heart person. So we sort of didn't always make it that good, because I'd be talking from an emotional point of view and he'd be giving me all these practical answers. And I knew the practical answers. I was just talking about how it felt. In our life, we can also change. We can be more head for some situations and more heart for others. When people are going through very bad emotional times, sometimes we need to connect in by the heart, but then also give them hope by using the head and help them through it, actually quite practically, by getting the meal. If the person's got someone dying, help them with the practicalities like ringing the funeral person, letting people know, organising all the things that need to be organised to help the person through this transition. We can come from the heart, but we also need to talk head to them about things, or just go off and do it. Just go off and fix things up for them that they can't do. It's a pure act of love. I don't think one is better than the other, but I do think if you don't know which one you are and you keep trying to be in the other space, you will not find your life as easy. Once I realised that I come from the heart, I'm a kind of a heart person, then it was easier for me to make sure I nourished myself by choosing relationships where the other person came a lot from the heart, because they were just more nurturing and nourishing, and I felt fulfilled. When I needed to be in the headspace, I could do that, and I could be all practical and work things out, and it's all non-emotional. I can do that, but it wasn't actually my personal choice of the way to live, but sometimes we need to do it. You will find within families there will be head people and heart people, and I think it's really important for you to work out who's who, and then you talk to them. So if I'm going to go and talk to my daughter, for example, my son, and I know they're a head person, then I talk head. Talk from there. If I talk to the other one who's maybe a heart person, I talk from there. I think you'll just find your communication will excel to what it's been. And I know you're the one who's making the adjustment, but you have the knowledge, so you can do that. And at the end of the day, we just want the relationship to be better. So it doesn't matter who's doing what. It doesn't matter about that part. And I haven't really talked to people about it. A couple of times I've just said to them, no, but you're just coming from the head now. This is a heart thing. You also need to come from the heart to see where I'm standing. I'm talking from the heart. And I've actually spoken like that to some people, and then they sort of get it. It doesn't change that they're head people or heart people, but they get it. I think our life is the way we choose it to be in our gene pool and all our past lives, because we're all different souls. And if we've done a lot of work, healing work or service work, we'll probably really be more of a heart person. If you've done more technology, worked in computers and anything scientific, we'll probably be more of a head person. And that's not to say that we can't shift into one to the other, but there'll be a predominance, and it's that predominance that is going to help us find ourselves and then find how other people are. So I hope you found this interesting, because when I was shown this, I found it very interesting, and it really helped me in my relationships, because I was talking to head people from my heart and it really wasn't working. And now I tend to talk more to their head, and I have more success, and I just pull the emotion out of it a fair bit. I do suggest that you tell them you love them and you care about and miss them and all those things, and still be authentic to yourself. But when you're actually dealing with the situation or the relationship or the person, think about that. And that's the other thing. If you're going to live long term with somebody as a partner, I highly suggest you get one that's the same as you. So 2 head people are good and 2 heart people are good, but one or the other is going to be more challenging. It really will. And this will also help you with the children to work out, if you have kids, it'll help you work out who are the head kids and who are the heart kids. And then when you relate to them, you go to that place first and you'll find it a lot easier. So good luck with this one. It's fun. And sending you lots of love and light.